everyone, my name is Hana Sundari. You are watching Tutorial TV, Sociolinguistics and Language Teaching from Universitas Terbuka. Today, I'm going to discuss about Ethnography of Communications and its implications for EFL teaching. This presentation will be divided into 4 sections. The first is introductions. The second is the concept of ethnography of communications and the framework of ethnography of speaking. And the last, the implications of ethnography of communications for language teaching. Before discussing on the topic, it is useful to see at a glance the mother of ethnography of communications, which is ethnography itself. Let's find out what experts say about definitions and scopes of ethnography. Ethnography, at the first place, is a qualitative research method used to understand native or primitive cultures and societal issues facing minority or ethnic culture groups. Recently, it is also used to discuss of how situated culture develops and enhance communications. The aim is to study human interaction and to record as accurately as possible the various attributes that establish a culture and support cultural identification. Duranty stated that ethnography is the written descriptions of social organization, social activities, symbolic and material resources, and interpretative practices characteristic of a particular group of people. It is based on first-hand observations of behavior in a group of people in their natural setting. The subject of ethnography refers to speech use from the perspective of cross-cultural variability of speech use. In doing ethnographic research, the ethnographer should ask themselves for, number 1, get what is happening and try to provide accounts which somehow the behavior that is being observed makes sense within the community that is being observed. Live for an extensive period of time in community they are studying in order to capture firsthand its language patterns and attitudes. Chronicle and record the lived experiences of the culture under study. At last, it can be seen ethnographic study is intersections between culture, language, and community. Some linguists thought a relationship existed between social construct, language, and patterns of interaction. Therefore, as a derivative study of ethnography, ethnography of communications specifically focuses on language the participants are using and the cultural practices such language practices. Now, I would like to move on to the concepts of ethnography of communication. Ethnography of communications was firstly proposed by Dale Hymes with the idea of language as a set of ways of speaking, rather than the idea of language as grammar, an abstracted set of rules or norms. He offers a theoretical basis of language study that accounts for both linguistic variations from individual to individual and relative linguistic coherence across the social realm within 2 unseparated aspects. The first, what speaker can and do say, and the second, the communal context such speakers occurs in. Well, now we look at the definitions of ethnography of communications by some experts. Zavil Trott defines ethnography of communications as the discovery and explications of the rules for contextually appropriate behavior in a community or group or what the individual needs to know to be a functional member of the community. Ethnography of communications is an approach to analyzing language which has been designed to heighten awareness of culture-bound assumptions. An ethnography of communications is a description of all factors that are relevant in understanding how that particular communicative event achieves its objective. Then, ethnography of communications can be defined as a communications approach that stresses the need for understanding speech codes in order to create shared understanding and meaning within a cultural community. Moreover, ethnography of communications focuses on the patterning of communicative behavior as it constitutes one of the systems of culture, as it functions within holistic contexts of culture, and as it relates to patterns in other cultural systems. In short, ethnography of communications is a new approach to understanding language in use. According to Himes, speech does not occur in a vacuum. Speech cannot be considered separated for the sociological and cultural factors that shape linguistic forms and create meaning. He then described the functions of cultural communications as follows. The first focus on the addresser, then focus on the addressee, focus on the channels, focus on codes, focus on settings, focus on message form, focus on topic, and focus on event. Therefore, the aims of ethnography study is to provide a framework for collection and analysis of descriptive data about the ways in which social meaning is conveyed, constructed, and negotiated. Ethnography of communications to provide a descriptive guided by the convictions that informations about diverse ways of speaking. And again, for Himes, it is to detect patterns of language use that help members of particular socio-cultural groups create and reflect their social world in particular contexts. The explorations and documentations of communicative competence within speech community is the essence of the ethnography of communication. Now, I would like to move on to the framework of ethnography of speaking. Ethnography of communications is also named ethnography of speaking. It is derived from mnemonic device of speaking. Read as a heuristic for analysis. The components of S, P, E, A, K, I, N, and G. Speaking grids are as follows. S for situation. Settings or scenes of speech. Setting refers to the time and place, the physical aspect of the situation, such as the arrangement of furniture in the classroom. Scenes also refers to the abstract psychological setting or the cultural definitions of the occasion. The situations can determine the topic, the verbal behavior, the expectations of the participants according to the manner in which they interpret the respective situation. P for participants. Participants include various combinations of speaker-listener, addresser-addressee, or sender-receiver. Then, it is also participants' identity, such as age and sex, social status, ethnicity, their roles, relationship with each other, and responsibility as participants in the event. Himes noted that some speech acts are not dyadic, as they do not include an addressee as monologue, thinking aloud, or prayers. Speech event could also be triadic, including a third participant, hearer, or audience. For example, a two-person conversation involves a speaker and a hearer whose role changes. E for ANS. ANS refers to the conventionally recognized and expected outcomes of an exchanges, as well as to the personal goals that participants seek to accomplish on particular occasions. In short, it is the purpose of the event itself and the individual goal of the participants. For example, a trial in a courtroom has recognizable social end in view, but the various participants, that is, the judge, the jury, prosecutions, defense, accused, and witness, have different personal goals. Then another example, a marriage ceremony serves a certain social end, but each of the various participants may have his or her own unique goals in getting married or in seeing a particular couple married. A for act. Act sequence refers to how speech acts are organized within a speech event and what topics are addressed. It is the actual form and content of what it is said, the previous word used, how they are used, and the relationship of what is said to actual topic at hand. Acts can be forms, contents, and sequential arrangement of the speech acts that constitute the event. For example, public lectures, casual conversation, and party charter are all different forms of speaking, with each go different kinds of language and things talked about. K for key. Key refers to the tone, manner, or spirit in which a particular message is conveyed. The key may also be marked non-verbally by certain kinds of behavior, gesture, posture, or even deportment. For examples, humorous, serious, playful, solemn, ironic, formal, and informal, light-hearted, pedantic, mocking, sarcastic, pompous, and so on. I for instrumentalities. Instrumentalities refers to the choice of channel. It is tools that are used in constructions of the speech event, code, and the channel, written, vocal, verbal, non-verbal. For example, formal, written, legal language is one instrumentality. Another, spoken Newfoundland English is one instrumentality. Code switching between Italian and English is another instrumentality. And for norms or standardized sociocultural rules of interactions and interpretations, this refers to specific behaviors and properties that attach to speaking and also to how this may be viewed by someone who doesn't share them. For examples, there are certain norms of interactions with regard to church services and conversing the strangers. G for genre. Genre refers to types of utterances. It is different speech acts, for example, storytelling, lecturing, gossiping, joking, myth, interviewing, poem, tale proverbs, riddle, curse, prayer, orations, commercial, or editorials. Now, let us see the example of how Ethnography of Communications is beneficial in highlighting the unrecognized roles of polite in written communications. This is a letter from Louis to Derek. From this letter, we know that both Derek and Louis, or the participant, are strangers with a large age and status gap. Derek is an older, respected and international acclaimed expert scholar in the field of New Zealand vocabulary. On the other hand, Louise is a teenage high school student. All the features show a close relationship between them. There are many rules of formal written communications between strangers that is violated, such as the casual greeting, "Hi there," the use of first name Derek, the very directly demand for assistance, "I need help, can you send me something?" with the intensifier and upgraders soon as possible, desperately, and the coy vinyl, promise. This is a written communications on a serious topic from a young student to an older professor with the goal of eliciting assistance. All these factors suggest that formal rules of interaction should apply. However, the genre is email, and this clearly has a strong influence on what it is considered permissible. Nonetheless, it is possible that the writer and addressee do not share the similar rules of interactions, and what each considers acceptable differs. In this case, Derek was not happy, and Louisa did not receive contributions to her essay, but a list of reference. Now, I would like to turn to the implications of ethnography of communications for language teaching. The applications of ethnography of communications in language teaching and learning and in education in general as heuristic analysis has been widely introduced by some experts. Saville-Troig has concluded the findings as follows. Research and applications of ethnography of communications gave contributions to understand differential rules for classroom language use with respect to ability level. Another study showed that certain type of classroom practices might have negative effect on teaching and learning for students from different cultural backgrounds. The method of ethnography of communications can be implemented by teachers in observing and analyzing situations in their own classrooms and in heightening their awareness of their own interactions patterns with students. Ethnographic modes are valuable in studying of both first and second language acquisition and the development or the acquisitions of communicative competence. For example, study by Heath describe how children from two culturally different communities in Piedmont, Carolinas learn to use language. Analysis of communicative events might be used in preparations of instructional activities for language classes, such as what aspect of language to be learned. Applications of ethnography of communications is to assessment of communication skills. Well, that's about it for now. We have talked about ethnography of communications and the implications for EFL teaching. See you again on the next sessions and thank you for watching.